People don't die when their heart stops. Most die long before that, quietly, invisibly, inside their own head. It begins with a whisper, so faint you almost don't notice it. A single thought. Small, harmless. You tell yourself you're just reflecting, just trying to figure things out. You believe you're solving your problems, gaining clarity, taking control. But the truth is cruel. Overthinking is not clarity. It is hunger. And the more you feed it, the more it devours you. You don't realize what's happening at first. You think your late-night spirals are a form of healing. You replay old conversations, analyze every detail, dissect every mistake, as if the answers will save you. But they never do. They only pull you deeper into yourself. You don't notice the corrosion spreading. The whisper becomes a hum. The hum becomes a roar. Soon, you can't tell the difference between your thoughts and your reality. You convince yourself you're moving forward, but you're only pacing in circles inside a prison of your own making. Seneca said it 2,000 years ago, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And yet, here you are, proving him right every single day. You imagine betrayals that never happened. You rewrite the past as if obsessing over it could change its shape. You script entire futures in your head, only to watch them crumble before they even begin. This is the illusion of control. Thinking gives you the feeling of safety, the illusion that if you just plan enough, prepare enough, understand enough, nothing can hurt you. But it's a lie. You are never safe. You were never in control. At first, it feels productive. Reflection masquerades as progress. You call it self-awareness. You call it processing. But beneath those words is something darker. You are not reflecting. You are rehearsing your own destruction. You are not processing. You are looping. Cognitive loops, psychologists call them. Circles that go nowhere. You mistake motion for meaning. The wheel spins, and you convince yourself you're going somewhere, when really, you're sinking into the same pit, again and again, only deeper. Think of the moments you lose to this spiral. Hours vanish as you stare at a wall, replaying a single sentence someone said to you. Days are wasted scrolling, not because you care about what you see, but because silence feels unbearable. Nights stretch on forever as you lie awake, bargaining with memories. She scrolls for 2 hours, numb. He replays the same argument for weeks. You tell yourself you're just trying to understand, but what you're really doing is hiding. Hiding from the pain of living by drowning in the illusion of thought. The whisper convinces you it's your ally. It tells you, if you just think harder, you'll escape the pain. It convinces you that the answers are just one layer deeper, one more sleepless night away. It convinces you to keep digging, even as the walls close in. You don't notice when the whisper becomes screaming, when it turns on you, when it stops being a voice of reason and becomes a weapon aimed at your own mind. You confuse obsession with insight. You call the noise inside your head intuition, but it's just chaos in disguise. Nietzsche warned of this spiral when he wrote, "If you gaze long into the abyss also gazes into you." That's what overthinking does. It turns you into the thing you fear. You set out to fix yourself, to master your mind, but the act of constant analysis only fragments you further. You begin to mistrust yourself. Every feeling becomes suspicious. Every desire becomes a problem to solve. You become a stranger to your own body, lost in a fog of endless interpretation. You stop living because you are too busy thinking about how to live. Overthinking feels like control, but it is the opposite. It is paralysis dressed as power. While you are caught in your head, life keeps moving without you. Friends drift away. Opportunities pass by. Moments of joy slip through your fingers because you were too busy rehearsing what you would say instead of actually saying it. You become a ghost, haunting your own life. People look at you and see someone present, but you're not really there. You are locked inside yourself, watching the world through a screen of your own making. Sometimes, you even romanticize it. You tell yourself that being trapped in thought makes you deep, unique, a tortured genius. But this, too, is a lie. The myth of the tortured thinker has destroyed more lives than it has saved. Intelligence does not protect you from suffering. If anything, it sharpens the blade. The more you know, the more angles you see, the more ways your mind can twist itself into knots. Ecclesiastes said, "He who increases knowledge increases sorrow." You thought wisdom would save you. Instead, it made you bleed. And the worst part? No one sees your pain. Outwardly, you seem fine. You smile. You nod. You play the role of a functioning human being. Inside, though, the noise is deafening. You are screaming silently, hoping someone will notice. But they don't. How could they? Your suffering is invisible, hidden behind your own practice performance. This is the cruelest part of mental self-sabotage. You build the prison, lock the door, and then hold the key while pretending you're free. The truth is simple and unbearable. The more you analyze, the less you live. Every moment spent dissecting life is a moment not lived. You mistake the map for the journey. You live inside simulations of reality while reality itself slips away. This isn't growth. This isn't healing. This is corrosion. The self does not expand through thought. It collapses. The more you think, the more pieces of yourself you carve away, until only a hollow echo remains. One day, if you're unlucky, you'll wake up and realize there is no way out. The whisper has grown too loud, the loop's too tight. You won't even remember what silence felt like. You'll look back and realize you spent years, maybe decades, thinking instead of living, mistaking rumination for survival. That is the final cruelty of overthinking. It steals your life one thought at a time, so slowly you don't notice until it's too late. Some people die from bullets. Others die from knowing things they were never meant to understand. And you are dying in a different way. Not all at once, but piece by piece, every time you choose to stay in your head instead of in the world. The whisper will tell you to keep going, to keep digging, to keep thinking. But the truth is, there is no answer waiting for you down there. Only more noise. Only more hunger. And the deeper you go, the harder it becomes to ever climb back out. People don't crave truth. They crave control. That's why you think so much, plan so much, obsess so much. You tell yourself you're just thinking things through, but really, you're trying to build a fortress against the chaos of life. You believe that if you can just anticipate everything, if you can just predict every outcome, you'll finally be safe. But you never are. Control is the most seductive lie the mind has ever invented, and you've believed it your whole life. You cling to it like a drowning person clings to a sinking ship, not realizing that it's pulling you under faster. At first, this lie feels like power. You create schedules, make plans, set goals. You imagine conversations before they happen. You replay past events to find the hidden lesson you missed the first time. It feels productive, even noble, like you're actively shaping your destiny. But it's all theater. None of it changes anything. The past is fixed. The future doesn't exist yet. The present slips through your fingers while you perform mental rituals to keep the illusion alive. You are a magician, conjuring illusions for yourself, so you never have to look directly at the truth. You never had control, not for a single second. The universe is chaos wearing a mask. You think you're steering your life, but in reality, you're just reacting to forces too vast to comprehend. A car accident, a single text message, a random stranger's decision. That's all it takes to shatter the little narrative you've built. And when that happens, you don't blame chaos. You blame yourself. You tell yourself, if I had thought harder, planned better, seen it coming, this wouldn't have happened. That's the cruelty of this illusion. It doesn't just fail you. It makes you hate yourself for believing in it. This is why you replay events over and over in your mind. It's not memory. It's self-punishment. You think if you analyze the past enough, you'll unlock the secret code to prevent pain in the future. But no amount of analysis can stop the randomness of life. It's like playing chess against a hurricane. You move your pieces carefully, strategically, while the storm just blows everything off the board without warning. Still, you keep playing, because the alternative, admitting you have no control, feels like death. Nietzsche once wrote, "To live is to suffer, to survive is to find some meaning in the suffering." But you don't just seek meaning. You seek control disguised as meaning. You tell yourself stories to explain the pain, to make it feel like it had to happen, like it was part of some grand plan. These stories are comforting lies, and you know they're lies, but you cling to them anyway. Without them, you'd have to face the terrifying truth. Most of what happens to you is meaningless, random, unjust, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. This is why your mind never rests. It keeps spinning, constructing scenarios, rehearsing conversations, building mental fortresses out of what if and next time. It tells you, If I can just think ahead far enough, I can prevent disaster. But disaster doesn't play by your rules. It arrives unannounced, laughing at your preparations. And in that moment, your carefully constructed sense of self collapses. You feel naked, exposed, like a child lost in a storm. That's when the panic sets in, and you double down. You think even harder, plan even more obsessively, convinced that next time you'll get it right. You never do. The cruel joke is that this frantic planning doesn't just fail to protect you. It destroys you from the inside. It robs you of the present moment, the only thing you ever truly have. While you're rehearsing conversations that might never happen, the real conversations slip away. While you're worrying about futures that might never come, your actual life is passing by unnoticed. You are so busy trying to control life that you forget to live it. You see it in the small, quiet moments. You're at dinner with someone you care about, but instead of listening, you're in your head, strategizing what to say next. You're lying in bed at night, body safe and warm, but your mind is in a battlefield, replaying arguments that ended hours ago. You're walking down the street, sun on your face, but you don't notice the sky, the air, the world. You only notice the storm inside your skull. Life becomes something you think about instead of something you experience. Sometimes, you even mistake this behavior for wisdom. You tell yourself you're just being prepared, being responsible. But that's not true. Preparation is finite. It has an end point. What you're doing has no end. It's a loop. A cognitive distortion. A performance you put on for yourself so you can feel safe for a moment. But it's not real safety. It's a drug. The more you indulge in it, the more fragile you become. Like an addict, you need higher and higher doses of planning and analysis just to keep the anxiety at bay. And then, one day, something small breaks you. A text you weren't expecting. A look you can't interpret. A phone call at 2 a.m. Suddenly, your entire system of control crumbles. You realize that all the preparation in the world can't stop the randomness of life. And for a brief, terrifying moment, you glimpse the truth. You see that you are not the author of your story. You are just a character in someone else's play, improvising as you go, desperately pretending you know your lines. Most people never stay in that moment of truth. It's too unbearable. So they retreat. They rebuild their illusions. They tell themselves new stories, make new plans, create new rituals to ward off the chaos. It doesn't matter that they know it's a lie. The lie is easier than the truth. The lie gives them something to hold on to, even if it's killing them. But a part of you always remembers. You carry that glimpse of truth like a splinter in your mind. And every so often, it aches. You look around at the people planning their futures, setting their goals, making their vision boards, and you feel the absurdity of it all. You know that one random event could erase everything they've built in an instant. You know because it has happened to you. Here's the final cruelty. Even knowing this doesn't free you. You still play the game. You still make plans, tell stories, cling to rituals. You do it because you're human, and humans cannot live without illusions. But deep down, you know what's coming. You know the hurricane is always just beyond the horizon, waiting to sweep the board clean. And when it comes, you'll blame yourself again. You'll tell yourself you should have seen it coming. You'll promise to plan better next time. But there is no next time. There is only this, a fragile life built on fragile lies, held together by fragile thoughts. And when those thoughts finally collapse, when the illusion of control shatters completely, you'll be left with the one truth you've been running from all along. You were never steering the ship. You were always just drifting, a passenger in a storm that never ends. You've been holding yourself together for so long you don't even remember what it feels like to simply exist. You've worn this mask, this careful identity, for years, convincing everyone, even yourself, that you know who you are. But deep down, there's always been a tremor, a faint crack beneath the surface. You've felt it in the quiet moments when no one is watching, in those sudden waves of disorientation when you catch your own reflection and don't recognize the person staring back. At first, you think it's just stress, fatigue, a bad week. But it isn't. It's the beginning of something far more terrifying, the slow collapse of the self. The breaking doesn't happen all at once. It starts quietly, like a glitch in the system. One day, you notice you don't feel like yourself, though you can't define who yourself even is anymore. You laugh at a joke and immediately wonder if the laugh was real or just a reflex. You say something to a friend, then replay the conversation later, questioning whether you meant any of it or if you were just playing a role. It's disorienting, like watching your own life through a distorted lens. You keep going, keep pretending, because you're terrified of what might happen if you stop. The ego is a master illusionist. It weaves stories to protect you, to make you believe you are solid and whole. It tells you, you are this person, with these beliefs, these memories, these desires. But when you look closely, you see the threads unravel. You realize your memories are curated, rewritten over time to fit whatever narrative you need to survive. Your beliefs aren't truths. They're borrowed scripts handed to you by parents, teachers, society. Even your desires aren't your own. They've been planted there by advertising, culture, and fear. You start to see how fragile it all is. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. This realization is not liberating. It's horrifying. You thought self-awareness would make you free, but instead, it makes you dissolve. You start to feel like a ghost, floating just outside your own life. You go through the motions, eating, working, laughing, but it all feels staged, like you're acting in a play you don't believe in. The mask becomes heavier, harder to hold in place. Sometimes you want to rip it off and scream, to tell everyone, I'm not who you think I am. But you don't, because you don't know who you are either. The mask might be fake, but underneath it, there's nothing. Nietzsche wrote, when you stare into the abyss stares back into you. That's what this collapse feels like. You've been staring into yourself for too long, digging deeper and deeper, searching for some core truth. But when you finally reach the center, you don't find a solid self. You find emptiness, a void. You realize there is no fixed you to discover, only layers of stories piled on top of nothingness. And the abyss stares back, silent and infinite, until you start to wonder if you even exist at all. As this awareness grows, despair follows. You begin to see how much of your life has been a performance. The careful smile at work. The opinions you parrot to fit in. The way you shape your personality differently depending on who's around. It's all an act. You're both the actor and the audience, trapped in a theater that never closes. At first, you tell yourself, everyone does this. It's normal. But then you notice something darker. The longer you play these roles, the more they consume you. The performance doesn't just hide who you are, it erases you completely. You try to fight it. You try to construct a true self, something authentic and unshakable. You read books, journal, meditate, tell yourself you're finding yourself. But this too becomes just another performance. Even your search for authenticity is staged. You see yourself doing it in real time, writing down insights, crafting epiphanies, narrating your own transformation like a character in a novel. And in that moment, you realize there's no escape. Every attempt to be real only creates another mask. The harder you fight, the deeper you sink. This is where despair takes root. Kierkegaard called it the sickness unto death, the deep, unbearable suffering of being a self who cannot be itself. You are trapped between two impossible states, being a false self or being nothing at all. Most people choose the false self because it's less terrifying. They keep wearing the mask, keep playing the game, keep pretending. But you're too awake now. You've seen the machinery behind the curtain. You know the roles are fake, the scripts are lies. And yet, you keep performing anyway, because the alternative, silence, emptiness, feels like annihilation. This inner war is exhausting. It bleeds into everything. Relationships start to feel hollow because you can no longer tell if you love someone or just love the version of yourself you play when you're with them. Work feels meaningless because you can see through the shallow rewards, the false hierarchies. Even simple pleasures become suspicious. You take a sip of coffee and immediately wonder if you genuinely enjoy it or if you've been conditioned to. Nothing feels pure. Nothing feels certain. Your mind corrodes everything it touches. Sometimes, you catch glimpses of other people still lost in their roles, and you envy them. Their certainty. Their unshaken belief in who they are. You watch them laugh freely, make plans, chase dreams, and you wish you could go back to when you believed the illusion too. But you can't. Once you've seen the cracks, you can never unsee them. You live with a constant ache, a constant distance between you and the world. You feel like a ghost haunting a life that no longer belongs to you. This collapse doesn't make you stronger. It doesn't make you wise. It simply strips you bare. You become painfully aware of how fragile everything is: identity, relationships, society itself. You see how easily it could all crumble with a single unexpected event. And deep down, you start to wonder if maybe it already has. Maybe everyone is just pretending, holding their masks in place, terrified that someone will notice the emptiness underneath. Maybe the entire world is one giant performance, and no one knows their lines. The scariest part isn't that you might be wrong about who you are. It's that there might not be a you at all. Just a shifting collection of thoughts, memories, and behaviors that only appear solid because you're too afraid to look closely. When the mask finally slips, you don't find freedom. You find nothingness. And that nothingness is unbearable. You want to run from it. You want to bury yourself in distractions, social media, work, relationships, anything to avoid the silence. But late at night, when the world goes quiet, the truth creeps back in. You lie there, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of your own emptiness. You realize that no matter how many masks you wear, no matter how many roles you play, the void is always waiting, watching, whispering. And here's the most devastating realization of all: even this collapse becomes another story. You start to narrate your own breakdown, to give it meaning, to turn it into an identity. I am the one who sees the truth. I am the one who understands the illusion. But that, too, is just another mask, another role. Even despair is a performance. There is no escape from the theater. You can only keep acting, keep pretending, keep building new masks to cover the old ones. But now you do it with a hollow awareness. You know the game is rigged. You know the self you present to the world is a fragile fiction. And you know that one day, the performance will end, not with applause, but with silence. When the curtain falls, there will be nothing left behind. Only the void that was there all along, waiting patiently beneath every mask you ever wore. People don't break all at once. They erode. It doesn't happen in a loud, violent way. It happens in silence, in moments so small you barely notice them. A promise you make to yourself and then quietly break. A dream you once had that you stopped talking about. A voice inside you that says, "This isn't me," but you drown it out with noise, with distraction, with anything that keeps you from having to listen. And before you realize it, you're not living your life anymore. You're performing it. You wake up and play the role you've been assigned, smiling when you should smile, nodding when you should nod, until the mask grows so heavy it feels like a second skin. At first, you think this is strength. You tell yourself you're being mature, practical, realistic. You learn to bite back the things you want to say. You learn to make peace with situations that poison you. You keep showing up to places that drain you, to people who don't see you, because it's easier than starting over. You tell yourself, this is just life. But deep down, something inside you knows it's a lie. It's not life. It's decay. You're not adapting. You're disappearing. Slowly. Quietly. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." But what he didn't say is that imagination can destroy you long before reality ever gets the chance. Because when you spend years pretending, when you keep living in a way that betrays who you are, the mind starts to fracture. You begin to split into two versions of yourself, the one you show the world, and the one you keep locked away in the dark. The hidden version whispers at first, asking you to come back. But when you ignore it, the whisper turns into a scream. And the scream becomes rage. This is where the real suffering begins. You're no longer at war with the world. You're at war with yourself. Every choice you make feels wrong, because no matter what you do, you're betraying some part of you. You feel it when you look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. You feel it when you lie awake at night, unable to sleep, replaying conversations you wish you'd had the courage to speak honestly in. The cognitive dissonance eats you alive. You're trapped in psychological loops, spiraling between who you are and who you pretend to be, until you don't even know which is real anymore. People around you don't notice. They think you're fine. They see the smile, the small talk, the curated version of you on social media. They don't see the quiet collapse happening behind your eyes. They don't hear the thoughts that claw at you when you're alone. And maybe that's what hurts the most, the fact that you can be surrounded by people, even people who claim to love you, and still feel completely invisible. Because they love the mask. Not you. Kierkegaard once said, "The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. And that's exactly what happens when you keep playing a role for too long. You start to see the life you could have had, the one where you were honest, where you chased what you actually wanted, where you didn't betray yourself every single day. And that vision haunts you. It lingers like a ghost, following you through the years, whispering, "It didn't have to be this way." The tragedy is that most people never escape this trap. They convince themselves there's still time. That one day, when things settle down, they'll finally live the way they were meant to. But life doesn't wait. Days turn into weeks, weeks into decades, and before you know it, you're standing at the edge of your own existence, realizing you spent the whole thing rehearsing instead of actually living. That's when regret hits. Not the small kind, like wishing you'd said something different in an argument. The kind of regret that crushes you, the kind that makes you understand why some people never come back from it. You think you're safe because you're still breathing. You think you have time because the clock hasn't run out yet. But here's the truth no one wants to face. Death isn't the moment your heart stops beating. It's the moment you stop being true to yourself. The moment you give up the fight to live authentically, even in small ways. After that, you're just a ghost haunting your own body, going through the motions, waiting for the world to notice you're already gone. And the world won't notice. Because the world is filled with ghosts. Millions of people walking around, smiling, working, posting selfies, dead inside, just like you. And they'll encourage you to stay dead too, because if you wake up, it will force them to see their own decay. That's why society rewards masks. That's why people who speak the truth are hated. Because they disrupt the illusion. But here's the thing about illusions. They don't last. At some point, the cracks begin to show. Maybe it's a breakdown. Maybe it's a sudden loss. Maybe it's just an ordinary day when you look in the mirror and realize you can't keep doing this. And in that moment, you'll face a choice. Either you tear off the mask and face the terrifying unknown of living honestly, or you keep wearing it until it smothers you completely. Most people choose the mask. Not because they're weak, but because they're afraid. Afraid of rejection, of failure, of the painful truth that living authentically will cost them everything they've built their false identity around. So they stay silent. They keep performing. They keep decaying. And maybe you will too. Maybe you'll hear these words, feel them strike something deep inside you, and then do nothing. Because doing nothing feels safer. But safety has a cost. It's the slow corrosion of your soul. It's lying on your deathbed one day, realizing you never truly lived, and knowing it's too late to change. Some people die from bullets. Others die from disease. But most people die from this. From the quiet, relentless erosion of self. And the cruelest part is, no one will even notice when it happens. Not even you.